Hey folks, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Advisory. I hope you're all doing well. Today, before we get started, I wanted to do a mindful moment with you. All right, for this mindful moment, it's not going to be anything crazy. All it's going to be are 3 deep breaths, but you have to take them along with me, all right? So get comfortable. Try not to slouch or anything like that. Sit up straight and with your feet on the floor. You can keep your eyes open or you can close them, but try not to distract each other. Just take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth and try to do it at the same time as I do, all right? So in through the nose. Hold it. Out through the mouth. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. One more, in through the nose. Out through the mouth. And that's it. A lot of studies show that taking a moment to take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth can help you relieve anxiety and calm things down in your mind. Right now, as you're watching this, for better or worse, the grades for Q1, quarter one, are done, and we have now officially started into quarter two. So today we're going to do a little bit of a reset, academically speaking, reflect on how Q1 went, and then plan ahead for Q2. All right, so in reflecting about the first quarter, the first 9 weeks, I want us to think about 3 different things. What we learned about our classes, what we learned about our teachers, and what we learned about ourselves. We're going to go through each of these one at a time. The first question I want you to think about is, what have you learned about your classes? Not necessarily what you've learned in your classes, but what have you learned about your classes? Which classes are easier for you and which classes are more difficult? And think about why that might be. Which classes take more of your energy and time? Not every class is created equal, of course. You're going to have some classes that have more work to do than others. And so which are those classes that take up more of your energy and time to do well in? And think about, what are the consistent products or assignments that you are tasked with in each class? Are there a lot of worksheets? Is it a lot of notes that you're graded on? Maybe there are some projects that you're always working on in this class. What are the different things that you are tasked with doing, and how are they unique to each class? Secondly, I want you to think about, what have you learned about your teachers? What kind of person are your teachers? What kind of teaching do they do? Think about, what are their expectations for their students and how do they communicate those expectations? Maybe you have one teacher that uses a lot of online things like Remind or Google Classroom. Maybe you have a teacher that says things out loud or puts them on the board and expects you to write them down somewhere instead of having a digital calendar. As far as the expectations go, some teachers may be a little bit more strict on their due dates than other teachers are. Knowing how each of your teachers approaches their class is going to be very important to succeeding in that class. What is their teaching style? Do they normally stand at the front and give lectures to where you have to take notes? Is your teacher more of a facilitator where they give you a task to do and ask you to do it as they come around and help everybody out? What sort of teaching style do they have? Now that you've gone through one grading period with them, think about how they grade. How harshly or easily do they grade certain assignments? Which assignments in their class carry more weight than others? Very important. What is their policy on late work? Things like that. And finally, what is the best way to communicate with your teacher? Again, do they prefer to be communicated with online through email or Remind? Is it better to go to them in person to talk to them? How does the teacher prefer to be communicated with whenever you have a question or you need help on something or you just need to talk to them about something? And lastly, it would not be a proper reflection unless we took some time to reflect on ourselves. And since this is an academic reflection, you want to think of yourself as a student. What have you learned about your own study habits, academic habits, and tendencies as a student? Think about what you're strong in. Are you really good at turning things in on time? Are you really good at staying organized? Are you really good at listening in class and retaining the information? Are you better in group work or individual work? What is your strength as a student? What are things about yourself that help you succeed academically? The second thing is, what obstacles do you have to overcome to succeed academically? Now, these can be both internal and external obstacles. An external obstacle is something like you don't have enough time or space to do your homework outside of school, maybe because you're working a lot or you have something else that you're involved in, or it's hard to get work done because you have a loud house or something like that. Sometimes these things are in your control and sometimes they're not, but either way, obstacles have to be overcome. Internal obstacles are things that happen inside of yourself. Maybe you're still learning English. Maybe you've been diagnosed with a reading disability like dyslexia, which makes things a lot more difficult to process. Maybe you have a lot of self-criticism or self-doubt that you have to overcome and tell yourself that you can do this and actually do it. Maybe you find it really hard to concentrate on things that aren't interesting to you, which you're going to run into every once in a while in school. Anything like that are internal factors, some of which you can control, some of which you can't, but all of which have to be overcome in some way or another. What is the best time in your schedule that you found to do work? Do you find that your brain is more active at a certain part of the day, maybe the morning when you first wake up? Do you have any classes during the day that don't take a whole lot of work that you can complete work from other classes in? And the last thing I want you to consider about yourself as a student is how you react when you are corrected or redirected through a grade that you didn't like or being corrected about something in the middle of class. You're here in school to learn. And so obviously that means that you're going to run into concepts or situations that are confusing to you, maybe frustratingly confusing to you. And you have to think about how you deal with that frustration, right? If you get a bad grade, for instance, in a class, that's a form of redirection or correction. Do you throw your hands up and just assume that the teacher doesn't like you because they gave you a failing grade, they are failing you? Or do you think, okay, how can I get better? How can I make sure that I don't get this grade in the future? And then how can you communicate with your teacher to avoid making those mistakes in the future? So in order to think about this, we are going to do a little bit of writing. So get out your journal if you don't already have it out. If you don't have a journal, just get out a piece of paper just to have some moments to reflect on these questions. These prompts are there for you to reflect on the things that we've just talked about and make a plan on how you want to move forward and improve in quarter 2. So in this writing activity, you can answer any of the following. Number 1, what is a specific goal that you want to set for the new grading period and what needs to happen for you to achieve this goal? You can use the chart that we've used before in your journal, or you can just write out a goal and list out the things that you need to accomplish this goal, but make sure the goal is academic and something that you can accomplish in this next 9 weeks, the next grading period, quarter 2. Number 2, think about what motivates you to succeed in your classes and how can you focus on that motivation this quarter. The third prompt is thinking of a specific challenge that you face maybe with a teacher or a class or an obstacle within yourself. How do you plan on both meeting and overcoming that challenge in the new quarter? I hope that quarter 1 went well for you, and I hope that even if it didn't, that you see quarter 2 as a new, fresh start. That's the cool thing about school, is that it gives you lots and lots of chances to not do well and then figure out how to do better. You'll have a little bit of time to journal about these things, and I want that to be silent writing time. And then at the end, maybe the last 5 minutes of advisory or so, you can spend discussing these things with your class. That's all from me for today. Be good to yourself and others, and I'll see you real soon.